Welcome back to the Keiser Report. I'm Max Keiser. Time now to return to our conversation with Michael Pento. PentoPort.com, money manager extraordinaire out there in New Jersey. The Bayonne Bleeder, they call you.
Bayonne, yeah.
Remember Chuck Wepner?
Is that a boxer?
Yeah. Well, you don't follow boxing?
Was he Italian?
Yeah, he almost beat Muhammad Ali.
Really?
Yeah. They modeled the Rocky character after Chuck Wepner, the Bayonne Bleeder.
All right.
Jeez, I know more about New Jersey than most people living in New Jersey. Okay, so Michael Pento, let's get back to this, Bitcoin, and, you're got a negative view on it. And the points you make, just to recap here, that there's a vulnerability at the exchanges and the on-ramp, off-ramp, where government could go in there and cause havoc. I mentioned there's an intellectual property challenge that could be made. Banks can say we own the IP for this type of technology, similar to the way Microsoft attacked open source software like Linux by saying we've got certain intellectual property there, and they're trying to invalidate this competitor. You also mentioned the possibility of a Fed coin. Fed coin comes around. It's a crypto coin. It's a digital coin. And your idea is that they want to wean folks off cash.
Yes.
They want to get people into a permanent negative interest rate scenario.
Which they will need to do to extricate the economy out of the next Great Depression, which is coming, unfortunately, in my opinion.
Right. So the depression comes when the market collapses. Market collapses because nothing was done to stop it from the last collapse except give the worst actors in the economy more money to go create more problems.
Globally, 70 trillion in increase in debt since 2008 globally, so they're going to have to do something. They only have about 125 basis points of bullets in the can there to fire. The United States. I mean, what does Japan have to get themselves out? They've got zero.
Right.
What does Germany have? They have nothing. Right. So they have nothing really to reduce the overnight interbank. So they have to go to negative. They can't do negative interest rates if they have physical cash. I'll just go and take all my hundreds out, put them under my mattress, and you can say I get negative 10%, but I don't have negative 10% because I have, whatever X number of dollars stuffed in my house. So they have to get the world used to living off of a digital currency. And by the way, there was a person nominated to the Fed by Mr. Trump called Marvin Goodfriend. And what does Marvin Goodfriend love more than anything in the whole world?
Bitcoin.
Besides Bitcoin, negative nominal interest rates.
Really?
Look it up.
Okay. All right, so there's the you're building a strong case here. So Bitcoin is just like the gateway drug. It's just opening up to this Fed coin.
Yeah.
Okay. Now here's some of my riposte to some of this thought is that I think that the creation of Bitcoin, going all the way back to the 2008 white paper, which describes the introduction to it, which mentions bank fraud, problems in the banking system, and problems in the central bank system, it's always been a race against the failure of the current system, the failure of the banking system, and the failure of the fiat money system and the fractional reserve system. What you're talking about would require more organization that's possible in an environment of more failing banks. In 2018, I think we're going to see a big bank like Deutsche Bank collapse, or some big bank in the UK collapse, because as you know, and as I know,
Europe.
They are technically insolvent. Italy will collapse. I mean, Italy is on the verge of collapse. That'll that chain reaction that sets off and the chaos that ensues. It's not going to be ability to manage that in any reasonable way, and that's why this push to Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoin price, the reason it's so high is that it's discounting of banking Armageddon. It's telegraphing, because markets are a discounting mechanism. They're telling us that in very near future you're going to have another 2008 banking catastrophe.
I agree with everything you just said. Here's my issue, and I'm sure you have thoughts on this. The government really doesn't suffer anti-money laundering flouting very readily. And the know your customer rules, they don't like people flouting those either. And they really don't want to, with alacrity, give up control over the entire fiat currency regime. So why are they giving all of this rope to cryptocurrencies?
Well, because
the reason is, Maxwell, is because they want to get the citizenry used to using a digital currency, and they want to completely get rid of all of paper currencies. And like I said, this is coming. I don't know if it's 2008. I think it is coming in 2018.
A couple of issues with that.
And then they ban all private cryptocurrencies for one public blockchain that they completely control. By the way, when they do that, they can track every single transaction. So the underground economy goes away. tax evaders go away. And they'll do it under the guise of worrying about, AML and KYC and terrorists funding. And they have all the subliminal reasons why this is going to be a success.
Okay.
And while the public is worrying about what the bra size of Kim Kardashian, they're going to they'll have no control left over their money. There'll be no protection from inflation. The purchasing power of their money can be destroyed at the will of the government.
I think you're giving too much credit to governments. And if they wanted to co-opt Bitcoin, they could have during the early years using what's called a 51% attack. They could have monopolized mining with the resources of one or two governments combined. They didn't because they was not on their radar. They have no idea what this is, and it's completely outside of their purview.
But they do now, though, don't they?
But now it's beyond their reach. The computational robustness of the protocol is such that no country or group of countries or even a global effort could co-opt or usurp the Bitcoin protocol at this point. It's beyond them, which is another reason why it keeps going higher in price, is because it can't be attacked in that way. Second reason is that we have an example here, of game theory. Game theory, I don't know if you follow game theory and the Nash equilibrium and this idea where all of the interests of a given scenario are equally balanced to the point where participants are motivated not to snitch on each other. It's won a Nobel Prize, I believe, for John Nash.
I saw the movie.
Okay. So we've already seen that play out in Bitcoin with the mining industry. The Chinese were very dominant in mining. Now the Japanese are in mining. It was in Eastern Europe were in mining because there's this huge game theory experiment going on where no one ends up having too much control because it gets distributed and the power is distributed. This game theory is going to jump to the nation state. So in other words, Bitcoin will become a strategic reserve for central banks. And Russia or China could be getting, or Japan, mining Bitcoin as a strategic reserve as they would buy gold in the face of a collapsing fiat currency that we're seeing all over the world. We both agree that fiat's vulnerable. We both know that central banks are buying gold. We both know that Bitcoin is incredibly robust and becoming a multi-trillion-dollar asset. Once central banks start to play the game theory with each other in Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining, then that's another reason why you're not going to have any one state come in and decide to outlaw it and do this and do that, because the entire business was just going to flow to the territory that welcomes this new business. So it's competition of the fittest. It's survival of the fittest, and no one country has a monopoly on this thing. It's global, and it's playing out globally.
Well, you might be right, but I think the IMF, together with the global central banks, will shut it down.
The IMF is bankrupt. We know that they were completely bankrupt before they interfered with Greece, with the Troika, the ECB, and the EU and the EC. And before then, they were about to close up shop and go away because they're bankrupt. They then got a bunch of banks to refund them.
Christine Lagarde can issue her own currency.
The SDR, the special drawing right.
Yeah.
The special drawing right.
How could you be bankrupt? Like saying the Fed's bankrupt.
Yeah,
well, they are insolvent.
They're
the most leveraged bank in the history of banks.
Backed by nothing.
But who cares?
Another
who
fiat
cares?
Currency.
Yeah. Exactly.
I understand that. That's the roll up all the global debt into a global special drawing right to bail out all the banks again.
Yes.
But it's another fiat currency that's going to drive more capital into gold and more capital into Bitcoin. I mean, in other words, Bitcoin is a response to the SDR. The SDR is just another fiat currency. This can't bail out a fiat currency with another fiat currency.
And you know what, Max? You know who really gets hurt is the middle class.
Why?
This gets flushed down the
toilet.
Why?
There's millions and millions of millionaires now.
Not because of Bitcoin, but because of the inflationary policies that are going to be inflicted on the American public and the European public and the Japanese public and the PBOC is out there right now trying to keep the Ponzi scheme, as David Stockman calls it, the red Ponzi scheme afloat.
Right.
I'm going to tell you something. All these things are going to collapse probably in 2018 because we have an inverted yield curve probably by October of 2018.
Explain briefly what that is.
So in the short end of the yield curve, interest rates are higher than the long end of the yield curve. Right now we have 53 basis points between the 2-year and the 10-year note. That's going to invert. If we have...
Doesn't that cause credit to seize up?
Of course. Well, if I'm a bank and I have to pay a depositor more than a loan, why am I going to make any more loans?
Okay.
I don't want any more deposits.
When LIBOR went up a lot, and the credit crisis in 2008, so we're heading to a credit crisis. How are they going to
absolutely with no ammo other than the things I mentioned before: helicopter money, universal basic income, and negative interest rate policies made possible by this universal, we call it a Fed coin or an IMF coin, whatever they're going to.
Okay, now there's 3 billion people on Earth with an internet connection, and now it's easy to go to an app on your smartphone, and you've got whatever of the 150 currencies that are out there in the world actively traded, and you can put $5 into a crypto coin that's going up in value, and that your buying power just went up. In a world where they're printing hundreds of trillions of dollars to bail out the worst financial scum and terrorists that have ever walked the face of the earth, the Bernankes, the Janet Yellens, the Lloyd Blankfeins, the Jamie Dimons, the guys who make Osama bin Laden look like Mother Teresa. People react to that, and they react physically and vociferously, and they want to escape the matrix of the fiat world. I implore you, how much crypto do you own?
How many you want to give me for Christmas is how much I'm going to own.
How do you allow yourself to be exposed to the ravages of fiat in this manner?
I still believe, one of the best things about what cryptocurrencies offer is the ability to move money around the world digitally.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? There are companies like Gold Money, which I own, that has a private blockchain that allows me to own gold and monetize it instantly. And that's where I'm putting my hope in.
They also now offer Bitcoin.
They offer that. Well,
they offer Bitcoin now.
They'll cold store it. They'll,
that's right.
They'll engrave your.
And why
your
are they
silly,
doing that?
Your silly.
Because,
I don't know why.
Because the market for gold is dead. Nobody's buying gold anymore. You can't give it away. Except for sheiks who want 24-karat gold toilet bowls. Nobody wants a frickin' gold bar anymore when you can buy Bitcoin.
Isn't that sad? Isn't that sad?
Is it?
It is very sad.
What about this, Michael Pento?
Yes, sir.
Do you ascribe to the theory that the futures gold price is in part responsible for the difficulty gold is having in the physical market to achieve
paper gold
prices?
You mean paper gold, artificial paper gold?
Yeah, do you believe that?
Yes, I do. People getting rid of millions and millions of dollars of gold within 5 seconds, putting in a market order.
Right.
When there's no market around.
Okay.
That does that.
And did they do that on a coordinated basis?
Yeah.
Do they do that to hit the price of gold?
Yeah, of course they do.
So they use markets to manipulate the price of gold.
If you wanted to sell a large chunk of gold, millions of ounces, would you sell it when there was no liquidity in the middle of the night, all at once, with a market order?
Clear indication of manipulation.
Yes, but I'll say this: manipulation goes both ways.
Yeah, but we haven't seen it in gold. But so let me ask you this: if Bitcoin disintermediates all the banks and all the Wall Street machinery, isn't it then clearing a path for the price of gold to go higher? You see what I'm saying?
Okay. So I finally agree with him on that. Yes, absolutely. Good job.
There you go. Michael Pento loves Bitcoin. We've got that now.
Yeah. Take the words out of my mouth and give it to you.
Well, we got to go, sadly. Just when things are heating up. You'll come to New Jersey next time. What is it?
Please.
All right, well, that's it for this edition of the Keiser Report with me, Max Keiser, and Stacey Herbert. I'd like to thank our guest, Michael Pento of Pento Port. Actually, you should go there and look at his work. He puts out a research that's extremely interesting, even though it doesn't cover Bitcoin. It has a lot of other stuff in it. It does.
It does.
And we'll be
but not favorably.
No. Twitter? Yeah, we're on Twitter. Keiser Report. You can follow us there. Until next time. Bye, y'all.